Hello, my name is Tony. Double acts, gotta love 'em. They've been around since biblical times. There was Cain and Abel, David and Goliath, God and the Devil. Then we had Abbott and Costello, Martin and Lewis, Morecambe and Wise, Butch and Sundance. There have always been buddy movies, but after the success of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, they became insanely popular in the early to late 70s. Some, it must be said, not all that popular and edging more into insane territory. But it's a simple enough idea. Get two successful movie stars, let them joint headline a movie, see how their on-screen relationship develops, see if the public turn out for it. Newman and Redford seemed set to continue with the formula. They paired up again for The Sting in 1973, and it was a huge critical and box office success and kicked off a brief ragtime revival. Naturally, there was talk of repeat projects featuring the two stars, talk that went on for decades, but it never happened. Doubtful it will now, what with Redford being retired and Newman being dead, reduces the probability factor somewhat. Freebie and The Bean was a buddy movie, released in 1974. Stanley Kubrick, no less, called it the best picture of the year. It did well at the box office, but the critical reception was uniformly hostile, taking issue with the gratuitous violence, racist and sexist scenes and dialogue, black humour that was perceived as being in very poor taste, and treatment of the public and innocent bystanders simply as collateral damage to the mayhem. Yes, the critics didn't like it for those reasons, but it will probably come as little surprise when I tell you that those reasons are largely why it's one of my most beloved movies. Do I need to justify this? I don't think so, but I would like to put things into context just a little before proceeding. It's a fantasy, a fiction, a distortion of reality that makes no attempt to present itself in any way a realistic reflection of the real world. The violence is rendered as an extreme form of cartoonish slapstick, undeniably brutal and bruising, but also funny. It makes you laugh and then makes you feel guilty for laughing. Same with the casual racism and sexism. The very aim is to be offensive, to be in bad taste, to be provocative, to get the audience to react, to gasp, be thrilled, or to smile, and then on some level question those reactions. It's a roller coaster ride of gleefully wicked fun with a bonus of implicating the viewer in the on-screen antics. As a piece of entertainment cinema, it's cleverer than it looks. It's something a bit different. And as for treating bystanders as collateral damage, have you actually seen any of the Avengers superhero movies and marvelled, pardon the pun, at just how many people are routinely destroyed by all those collapsing and exploding buildings, vehicles and environments? But it ain't real, so that's okay. You can agree or disagree, but that's my take and opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Sue me. James Caan and Alan Arkin are Freebie and The Bean respectively. They're cop partners working for the San Francisco PD intelligence squad. Ironic, because intelligence is something in short supply where they're concerned. Freebie is volatile and corrupt, always on the lookout for an opportunity to scam gifts and bribes. His aim in life is to transfer to the Vice Squad, where he reasons there is more scope for illegal financial rewards. Bean is neurotic, paranoid and hypersensitive, fixated on the belief that his wife is having an affair with a landscape gardener. He wants to make lieutenant, imagines his future lies in being a career cop. The two men constantly bicker, fight, insult and rail against each other, whilst being oddly codependent. They sort of need each other despite their roughshod relationship. They've been working on the same case for 14 months to find enough evidence against Red Myers, Jack Crucian, a rich Teflon-coated racketeer who has eluded prosecution. They've had him under surveillance and routinely dig through his garbage cans looking for anything incriminating. When they do eventually come up with something, some conclusive documentation, the district attorney tells them it isn't enough for the grand jury without a key witness. To further complicate matters, the Detroit mob has put a contract out on Myers, and so the DA charges Freebie and The Bean with keeping Myers alive until their key witness, who is out of town, arrives back in the city. The plot has more holes in its logic than you'd find in a mole sanctuary set in the grounds of a Swiss cheese factory. Still, forget about that. What ensues is a riotous madcap breakneck grab bag of destruction, death, violent action and demolition-prone stunt work, which climaxes at Candlestick Park Sports Stadium in the middle of the Super Bowl. Switch off your brain and Freebie and The Bean is immense fun. The two leads generate great on-screen chemistry, their verbal interactions are rapid fire, very fast and funny, screwball comedy patter, and their contrasting personalities and acting styles complement each other far better than you might originally imagine they would. It's a great double act on a par car with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, and although it was apparently a difficult shoot, with both actors concerned that the action scenes were sidelining their performances, Khan and Arkin give the impression they're having a ball. If it's an illusion, who cares? That's what movies are all about, unless I'm mistaken. And I'm not. There is a whole list of reasons to love this film. Many vehicles get totaled in several chases, including numerous police cars courtesy of our two heroes. One, they drive off an elevated freeway and into the third story of a building. They smash the car into the room of an elderly couple who are sat in bed eating. It's a moment of glorious high comedy, stupidly funny. After a crazy shootout at a dentist surgery where Myers is a patient, Khan pursues the fleeing hit team on a motorbike, riding it over cars in a traffic jam, leaving chaos in his wake. Some fine stunt work here. It culminates with a brutally funny fight in a hotel kitchen between Bean and one of the hit squad, complete with saucepans to the face and a lot of spilled spaghetti sauce. Freebie and Bean interrogate suspects, most notably sleazy low-rent crim whitey Paul Koslow, with intimidation and beatings and with the threat of performing acts of sexual sadism on his girlfriend. Paul Koslow had the shit kicked out of him in so many early 70s movies I've lost count. He was like a human punch bag. There was a classic scene at a bowling alley to which Freebie and Bean have tracked a Detroit assassin. When he visits the men's room, the pair tool up before entering, loading twin pistols each, fixing in earplugs, psyching themselves. Rather than arrest the guy, they simply stand outside the cubicle where he's taking a shit, call for him to give up, watch as he fumbles and drops his gun, then unload 4 weapons worth of bullets continuously through the door in a deafening cacophony. The wonderfully performed domestic two-hander between Arkin and Valerie Harper, playing his wife, Consuelo, is a sheer delight. Bean presents her with the evidence of her imagined infidelity as if he's dealing with a suspect under the lights, but she's 10 times cleverer than he is and deftly counters or rationally explains everything, much to his frustration. Most of the way though, it's Khan and Arkin's show, as they go out of their way to demonstrate in graphic terms that they are to compassionate, protective and professional law enforcement what Will Smith's hand is to Chris Rock's face, an almighty fucking bitch slap. Some sticky wickets though, especially in today's culturally febrile atmosphere. We have the casual racism. Freebie, real name Detective Sergeant Tim Walker, is nicknamed Freebie because of his gratuity grasping activities, for what he does. Bean, real name Detective Sergeant Dan Delgado, is nicknamed Bean because he's Mexican, for what he is, his race. And it's also used as the butt of several race-related jokes. Arguably, it wasn't intended to be malicious, but even back in '74, it stirred up some controversy. You can choose to be offended on behalf of the Mexican nation, or just think, remember the Alamo, and roll with it. Your call. It's also been noted that neither Arkin nor Valerie Harper are Mexican, rather actors playing characters who are Mexican. But as a black actress recently played English Queen Anne Boleyn, wife of Henry VIII, on British TV, a real historical person who wasn't black and was mother of the whitest white English woman ever, Queen Elizabeth I, and that didn't bother me, so why should I be concerned? It's rhetorical, as I'm sure there are reasons someone could sling my way, but I don't care about them, and that won't change. Colourblind casting is either going to be equitable and inclusive, a two-way street, or it isn't. Which way you want it. Likewise, some woke ideologue reviewers have expressed hand-wringing anguish at the homophobic attitudes of both Freebie and Bean towards Christopher Morley's character. Chris Morley is an accomplished professional female impersonator or drag artist, whatever the preferred term is. He or she is the real deal, who plays a gay female impersonator or drag artist, whatever the preferred term is, who robs Myers and gets blown away by Freebie after a very ferocious confrontation in a female restroom at the Super Bowl. Morley excels, sparky surface camp concealing a lethal capacity for wonderfully casual and remarkably elegant physical violence. Both Bean and Freebie are compromised by their dumbness and bigotry, which results in them underestimating this individual and falling foul. That's where prejudgments get you. I feel only those who have missed the point would choose to be offended. I recall reading a review which accuses the film of insinuating that all gay men want to dress up as women. If it is suggesting that, then it continues to elude me, because I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something, but then hey, no one's perfect, and I'm the first one to point the finger. Sorry, I meant hold up my hand. Jeez. Richard Rush built a reputation based on writing, producing and directing exploitation flicks for AIP in the 60s. He made the counterculture drama Getting Straight with Elliot Gould and Candice Bergen in 1970, which was financially successful enough to juice him into directing Freebie and The Bean. His biggest success critically would be The Stuntman in 1980, starring Peter O'Toole and Steve Railsback. He was Oscar nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay. His last mainstream film was the risible and insanely stupid erotic thriller Colour of Night with Bruce Willis and Jane March. This one did win him a prize, the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, and that was when his movie-making career more or less fizzled out. Rush directs the action with some manic energy, keeps things moving at pace, clearly relishes staging and executing the verbal interplay between the two leads, and times the comedic moments with almost precision. He understands that there can be a rich vein of humour in violence, because the silent movies took the slapstick antics of the circus clowns and transplanted it into a squad of useless police officers, the Keystone Cops, who trailed mayhem and destruction in their wake. Freebie and The Bean is an updating of that old-school cinematic tradition. None of it is intended to be taken seriously. Who in their right mind would think for an instant that it was? The central characters are idiots, with an idiotic mind's-eye view of the world, but what makes them dangerous is that they fall into that lethal category of idiot who don't know they're idiots, but instead believe they're smart, which is why they are racist, sexist, homophobic sledgehammers. Some might say ideal police recruits then, but my estimation is, in the real world, they wouldn't have even got a toe in the door. Or maybe I'm being naive, and perhaps they would have been welcomed with open arms. I'll ask the Met. Freebie and The Bean is risque, dodgy, edgy fantasy fun. No more, no less. Not to everyone's taste, but then...
Tosca isn't for everyone.
No, quite so, Mr. White. Thank you for your time and attention. If the gods will it, stab like or don't like, leave a comment, or even grasp the lightning bolt and subscribe. We're only just getting started, you pilgrims. Long way to go yet.